Hello, I'm Ravic Hunter, and we are Legends on Paper, an eclectic group of longtime gamers with a passion for Dungeons & Dragons. We're not voice actors, professional gamers, or paid performers. We are regular people just like you, except that we will probably make complete fools of ourselves as we attempt to have fun and entertain. If you enjoyed tonight's production, please follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our channels on Twitch and YouTube. To find out more about us, please visit www.legendsonpaper.com. And don't forget, most importantly, to tell all your friends. Thank you for joining us on this epic journey as Legends on Paper presents The Greatest Adventure. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Greatest Adventure. Last session, our heroes made their way from the Dormonts to the Village of Remy, intent on warning its citizens that an undead horde would be approaching soon. Risen by the Lord Dormont himself, whom they had released from his tomb, collecting a horde of undead across the ancient battlefield, intent on marching on Norwick, and Remy was in direct line of Jorvik. On the way back, two important things happened. Number one, Nim decided it was time to bond with her oath. And during a late night watch, with only her and Styx awake in the chilly evening, she asked him to witness her oath in exchange for a favor. Styx agreed to do so, and Nim finally bonded with her solemn oath in the dark night. The second important thing that happened was the next morning, after Nim had taken her oath, when a curious fellow suddenly arrived on the scene, looking much like Jolo, except broader and more muscular, but nearly an identical twin of the man they knew. This man's name was Dylan, and he was a provisional temple knight, as evidenced by the white cloak fringed with silver. He called out to a man named Gerwin Pugh. No one knew a Gerwin Pugh. Jolo knew the name. Apparently, it was his own. For whatever reason that he did not explain in any adequacy, he was going by the name of Jolo. But the entire group was more fascinated by this unusual fellow that called himself Jolo's brother. Very arrogant, pompous temple knight that was soon to be taking a testing to become full-fledged knight with all rights and privileges of one that wore the white cloak with gold fringe. To do so, to even take the testing, he had to perform an act of humility. And according to Dylan, he could find nothing more of a humility to himself than to seek out his brother, whom apparently he didn't have a great relationship with, incestuous at the very least, and beg him for a blessing of Suna. After some back and forth, Jolo finally acquiesced and granted his brother the blessing of Suna. Dylan seemed to be satisfied with this, although the humility that he suffered to do so seemed to definitely weigh upon him, stain his honor perhaps, or maybe just his ego. Whatever the case, he traveled back with the group to Remy And there, as the group arrived late in the evening, with a bit of an interaction between the half-elf Chicletta, the ranger, who had guided them to the Dormounts in the first place, and Styx, quickly calmed by the stern voice of the tavern keeper, Rollo, the group turned in for the night, exhausted, and desperately needing a long rest. And that's where we'll pick up with this session. All right. So we begin this session with the party enjoying a nice rest, catching up with their spells and their health and all that sort of thing at the end of a long rest from a very difficult journey to the Dormounts and back to the Village of Remy. And as they begin to awaken and meet together in the common room downstairs of the Dancing Boar Tavern, there's a few patrons that are in the common room. Some they recognize, others they don't. The ones that they know, of course, are Rollo, the proprietor of the tavern, his daughter, Marion. There's Chicletta and Arolthian. And there's Dylan. The three of them are sitting together with a middle-aged man who's very well dressed, looks like a noble. Got short brown hair, very muscular physique, wearing fine clothing, and a long white cloak with a golden fringe. Clearly, a temple knight. He and Dylan are sharing the table with Chicletta and Arolthian, and they seem to be in a spirited conversation. Clearly, at least a few of them know each other well. As Hildy and Jolo and Nihilus come down the stairs and enter the common room, Dylan very poignantly is not paying attention to the group, specifically perhaps Jolo, but Rollo, the proprietor, waves to Nihilus. Nihilus, a note was left for you last night. I presume last night or sometime this morning before I came in. I found it with your name addressed to you here on the bar. I don't know who left it, and of course I did not read it. Didn't seem anything urgent, so I didn't wake you. But it's here for you.
Oh, Rollo, could we have something warm and belly filling? Maybe some of that stew, if you have any left. I'm hungry.
You can smell the fragrance of cooking bacon and eggs and boiled potatoes.
I thought that was Jolo.
He's like, well, we have something from last eve's. So, perhaps we can come up with something if you would like. Something less traditional than what we would normally eat here in the country. There are also a few farmers. They look like they've come in before they go out to their fields or their trade within the village. But overall, there's less than a dozen people here in the tavern right now. And aside from Nihilus and Hildy getting some sidelong glances because of the unusual nature of who they are, being a Twathaday and Atlantean, and perhaps even Jolo because of his stained outfit that he's wearing.
I would like to interject here for a moment.
Okay.
As you may recall, he at least started with gold fringe as well. So perhaps the new gentleman who shares a little bit of sartorial similarities with him might look at this gold fringe and say, definitely someone
Perhaps he would, if he could look past all the stains.
And should I do like a roll for insight to see if he's really...
Well, right now, just passively, not really paying attention to. I mean, he's obviously acknowledging the fact that a Twathaday and Atlantean have entered the room, just kind of nodding curiously and then going back to his conversation. But at this point, he's not seeking to catch your eye or engage you as he's involved in his conversation with the others. And again, Dylan is poignantly not looking your way. and the other two, the half-elves, Jacletta and Orothian, are, yeah, of course they notice you, but it's like they don't even care, and they are more involved in discussion with this noble and looking fellow.
I'll just kind of draw a little attention to the gold, and perhaps I'll even try to introduce myself.
If you want to walk over to the table, you can.
I'm gonna walk over right behind Dylan, in fact, slap him on the back and say, "Hello, brother."
You see him just tense up. I'm coming. Oh, it's your brother, is it?
As a matter of fact, he was on a mission to see me.
The nobleman turns. Yes, there's a striking resemblance between the two of you. I mean, you're far leaner, and the mustache is
Silkier and smoother. Yes, I
have to compliment you on that. Indeed so. But I can definitely see how you are related. Dylan, why didn't you tell us your brother was here? And he just kind of stammers.
You know, he's so shy, he probably didn't even mention the fact that I killed a troll.
Killed a troll?
They call me Jolo the Troll Killer, as a matter of fact. Jolo the Pink Troll Killer.
Impressive.
It really is. I like to impress a lot.
Why don't you have a seat with us? His name is Gerwin.
Is there a chair available, or should I have Dylan stand up? I don't know what I should be doing.
There is a chair available. Dylan doesn't attempt to move, and you see it from underneath the table. He just kind of takes his leg and just slides out into the chair on the other side of the table, pushing it out. You see it kind of go out on its own, scraping against the floor. Oh, look! Please join us here. Is it Jolo or Gerwin? I don't quite...
I'm a man by many names. I have a professional name, as it happens.
How shall I call you, friend?
You can call me Jolo. My brother always does anyway, so it's fantastic.
You can just see your brother, just all shades of color coming across his face. In the meantime, Rolo has handed Nihilus the note.
Oh, I thought it was my soup.
Yeah, and before long, Marion is there with your soup and your breakfast order, the hot meat and so forth, whatever you ordered.
As Gerwin headed over to the table with the others, Nihilus would have walked straight over to the bar and taken the note. I thank you, Rolo. Much appreciated. And then, if we could get some breakfast, that would be wonderful. A plate for myself and my two companions, and
Marion already working on it.
Two more for the others. It should be coming down shortly, I believe.
Okay, very well, very good. Anything else that I can do for you today, please let me know. And he just kind of goes back to doing what he does behind the bar there.
Nihilus, you have to sit next to Jolo and his brother. They're so wearisome.
Oh no, Nihilus would have definitely gone to a separate table as far from Rowan as possible, probably.
Hildy will follow.
Okay.
Of course, it's Team Gel.
So Hildy joins you, Nihilus, as you sit down with the note, and Jolo, you find yourself in the middle of this kind of a strange dichotomy of awkwardism and pleasant conversation, whereas you're getting a really cold, dark stare of daggers from your brother, and then you're from this nobleman who finally introduces, my name is Commander Pritchard of the 4th Infantry Division of Warwick, and I'm here vacationing. My family will be here in a day or so. I'm very pleased to meet you. I'd love to hear more about this troll that you say you conquered. And you can see Jacletta and Orothian just kind of looking at you sideways. Not quite like Dylan is just, it looks could kill, but a little bit more dubious about anything that might come out of your mouth, since they know you a little better than the commander at this point.
How does this awkwardness work? Because I've got really high charisma. I feel like I wouldn't even notice. I'm
not saying you're awkward. I'm not saying you're feeling. I'm just saying that kind of a tension. It's kind of an awkward tension at the table because of this strange, multiple emotions going on at one time.
Well, as I pointed out, as a cleric, as a high charisma character, I like to diffuse tension a lot. So I turn to Commander Pritchard and I say, I'd love to tell you about it, but I don't want to steal the thunder. My brother. I'm sure he can tell you of many of his own escapades.
Oh, but that's why we're here, Jolo. Because we're here to share stories. I come here every year, sometimes twice a year, to sit down with Jaclette and Rolthian. We share tales of all of our adventures, the things that we've done, and new and exciting things going on. And of course, lately, there's been dark tidings throughout the kingdom and others beyond. But let's not bring the day down with that sort of talk. In any case, we're here to enjoy ourselves. Dylan says that he has come here to seek you out for, I think he called it, he was here to, he's going to be going through the testing, is that right, Dylan, in the next week or so, back in Norway. Congratulations on that, I'm sure you'll do quite well. And that he had come to prepare himself with an act of humility.
I was actually very, very shocked by that, as a matter of fact.
Were you involved? Dylan, you didn't mention your brother was involved in this.
As a matter of fact, I know he's always looked up to me. And he wanted me to be humble and humble myself and bless him for his upcoming...
You see the cup that's in front of Dylan just go over, and more meat just kind of spills over, and he's like... he's just looking at you, and you can almost hear, and you know him from a child, when he starts to grit his teeth, it's a tell that that you're moments away from a fight, but he's just holding himself back because obviously Commander Richard is sitting right next to him, doesn't want to make a scene with this much higher level authority.
So I'm hearing two messages right now. One, I should stop pushing him, but two, I should not stop pushing him. And this whole dichotomy is floating in Jolo's mind, and it's almost overwhelming.
And in the meantime, as Hildy and Nihilus take a seat at a less chaotic part of the tavern. And your table, by the way, is getting a lot of attention with all this, this talk and so forth. You have this note, Nihilus.
I put it into my pack and save it for another day.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'll read it.
All right. Okay. And are you reading it in such a way that Hildy can kind of, are you reading it out loud or just kind of reading it?
No, if it had my name on it, I would be as closed. I mean, I wouldn't want Hildy to know what it said until I read it first.
I wouldn't look over his shoulder or anything.
Oh, yeah? Okay. All right.
Is Nihilus one of these people that just kind of moves his lips as he's reading? What's your intelligence score? I want to know. Oh, I can see it up there. Okay.
Yep, it should be flashing across the screen at any moment.
I'm just going to wink at Dylan and just go on my thing.
So I'm going to read it out loud, Nihilus, as you read it. But you're the only one that's receiving this information. And immediately as you open the note, you see the script that's kind of this flowy, very elegant-looking script that you recognize as that of Nims. And it says, "Dear friends, and Jolo. One night, on our way back from the Dormounts, I asked Styx to witness an oath that required my bond. In return, I promised to him to help him with a personal matter regarding a man he feared greatly, a man he called the Cudgel. Last night, he came to my room and demanded I make good on my promise and travel with him immediately to York to face this man. I argued that we couldn't leave our friends with an army of undead approaching. But he didn't care, and ultimately, I was compelled to live up to my promise. I hate him for taking advantage of me in this way, and leaving the rest of you, and Jolo, in harm's way. I swear that if this Cudgel fellow doesn't kill him, I will. I'll kill Styx myself.
Yikes.
When it's over with. May me guide and protect you, all of you, even Jolo. And it's signed, Nimale."
Wow. So I'll fold it up and put it in one of my pouches, and I'll look at Hildy and say, Hildy, I think that Nimale and Styx have both gone off to York without us. It seems that they had some secret conversation on our trip here, and something about a promise and a favor, and something about the Cudgel, so don't know what that is all about, but apparently they're gone.
Well, that sounds very odd, but maybe they'll be summoning the army to come help us.
I hope so. We certainly need to let these people know what's headed our way and get word to Yorwick as soon as possible as well. I don't know if that was their intention. She didn't mention it.
I don't think we should tell Jolo they've left. He'll be positively inconsolable.
True, but I think we should let Jolo know that one of his biggest shields from me punching him again also just left, so...
That's probably a good idea. You want me to tell him?
If it means I don't have to, then...
Jolo! Oh, Jolo!
You hear Emily calling from across the room.
I'm gonna try to mirror Dylan a little bit. I'm just gonna avert my eyes.
Nim and Sticks have left, Jolo.
What? My two best friends?
And just at that moment, two elderly women come through the door. It's Brenna and Jenna. Oh, the two sisters whom you had a very interesting experience with.
They were middle-aged last time I set eyes on them.
You ate of them. You ate of them.
Yeah.
But older.
It's like Moses on the temple.
As your eyes meet theirs, they meet yours. A very shrill, high-pitched scream echoes throughout the room. The entire tavern is silent. Commander Pritchard and all other eyes revert over to you, staring as you stop screaming.
I'm screaming. Huh. So I'm hoping, I don't think I'm going to be right, but I'm hoping that my eyes will just turn black, not through my own device, and I'm starting to speak in tongues.
No, but what happens once you...
Maybe I should do that anyway.
Finally, once the scream just kind of ends, echoing throughout this chamber, not that... There's only about 12 tables in here, and so this common room is not that big. The end's not that huge. That it's just not echoing back. And the two women are wide-eyed. Everyone, quite frankly, is wide-eyed. Even Dylan is like, "All right, it's going for you," and you just explode with light. And I mean, you don't physically explode, but as this has happened before, you just basically combust with light. Everybody's like just shielding their eyes as you just illuminate. There's gasps all around, and the commander's whoa, what is? Wow, that's bright. And what do you do?
I'm not in pain. I assume it's like I can see. So I turn to him and I say, well, I've always been a bright boy, but most importantly, I am a priest of Suna. And sometimes her will and her power just flows through me to a point that I can't even control it. This holy wondrousness that is Suna. I hope this does not offend you.
Not offended at all, old chap. That's quite all right. I didn't know you were a priest of Suna. That explains almost nothing. But in any case, wow. How long does this? Can you turn it off? It's just a bit bright on the eyes.
I have had a problem with premature elucidation.
I see. Oh, God, it's all over me. It's all over the room. It's everywhere. Whew. This is quite the illumination that you have.
And
are you okay?
I'm thinking about baseball.
No, they can't actually see you. All they see is just this illuminated. It's like in the middle of a light bulb, and then the illumination that just spreads out, spilling out through the windows and out through the doorway. The two older women, they just basically turn around and walk right back out. And the other folks that are in there, the farmers, the tradesmen, and so forth, like, okay, I'll see you later. And they start to slowly fall out as well. To cut down the Rothian stay, you can clearly see their expressions. The light doesn't affect you anyway, but everyone else, it's almost blinding. And so it's very, very difficult for anyone to see beyond their hands in front of their face. But for you, everything's very clear. And you can see that they're just like curious. Both of them have the same expression on their face of curiosity, and a horrified look of embarrassment has just come over Dylan. As he realizes that this is his brother, obviously, and this is happening, and you know him well enough to perceive that he's feeling embarrassed by it in front of the commander.
Because he also can't generate light as I can. I assume.
Also that, I'm sure.
I'm gonna turn my chair away so I'm not blinded.
I'm even being shunned by Hildy at this point.
Well, I'd like to keep my eyeballs in my head.
This is just a little bit of light, and perhaps I can turn this into a positive, like the Suna symbol instead of the bat symbol. It just spreads out and encourages people to know that help is on the way. And I turn to the commander and I say, well, as I'm sure a man of your stature and years of experience in the field can tell, I'm being very serious right now, and as I feel the power of Suna flowing through me, I must reveal a terrible story that I heard.
Oh, all right. Yeah, you see kind of tears just rolling down his face a little bit
For my beauty, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Squinting from the bright light. It's so close.
What would you say, hypothetically, in my journeys, doing Suna's goodwill and helping the impoverished, the needy, the poor, the people in trouble, I heard that some evil is afoot. And I'm sure Dylan's going to turn his eyes and get angry at me at this point, but some evil is afoot. And there may have been an incident involving some grave robbery. And I just kind of feel out how Commander Pritchard's going to...
Well, the reaction you get from your brother, from Dylan, is just kind of he's got his hands over his face at this point. You don't know if it's because of the bright light or combination of what you're saying. Both of the half elves, the ranger and the druid, are kind of affected by the light, but they're kind of leaning forward as if to hear, to gain more clarity as to what you're saying. Commander Pritchard himself, still battling the light, is like, well, I certainly don't condone it. Most certainly, I mean, as a priest of Suna, you say, we don't go around the temple and the church. We don't go around robbing graves and so forth. And when it's about that time, the light just immediately dissipates and doesn't just fade away. It just goes out.
Oh, God.
It almost seems dark in the room, and Rollo's like, "Oh, that's good."
Do I have like a tan now?
No. You don't notice.
Do I smell like chicken baking somewhere? Or?
It's still the bacon from the kitchen, but no.
Okay.
Do you think he screamed like that because I told him Nim left?
Nim left? My best friend forever?
I told you that, and then you screamed and burst into your weird light
Oh, I got
thing.
distracted.
Oh, yes, Nim and Styx have left us here. They've gone to Yorwick. Enjoy your breakfast.
All over. The commander's looking at Dylan. Who is this Dylan? Styx. They speak of just some of the companions. One's an elf and one's human, I suppose, just a dirty looking fellow. Kind of smelled not too great. But anyway,
Is he describing me, or?
no, he's talking about he's having that conversation with Commander Pritchard, explaining who Nim and Styx are.
Sounds like Styx and I have something in common now. But that's fine. Not a problem. So, it's kind of a coincidence, Commander, that two of our companions have left, because those two, I would neither would I condone grave robbing, and I certainly wouldn't steal, and I kind of heft up my little bag of gold, which is quite small, unfortunately, at this point. And I say, two fellows who left in the middle of the night, I've heard that they may have awakened some trouble in the tomb of the king who never was.
You see his facial features get very, very serious. So do the two half-elves sitting with him. Dylan, he finally taking his hands away from his face when the light went out, just kind of rolls his eyes. Dylan.
Please call me Joe. I'm professional. It's a professional setting.
Now, while that's happening, Nihilus and Hilda, you guys have just witnessed this whole thing go down over there with the light and the two women that came in and left, and a lot of people leaving out of the door, and the reaction from Jolo to the companions leaving during the night. What are you guys doing?
Hildy didn't even notice the women walk in, and because that happened right after she hollered over.
True.
So Hildy is absolutely convinced that Jolo freaked out because Nim and Styx left.
Okay.
He's now minus 2 followers.
To BFFs.
Or BFFs.
And I'm assuming that bright light was like the one that we saw previously, correct?
Yeah, it looked identical to what happened to Jolo now on 2 occasions. Once in the tomb and then once on the way back.
Are they getting stronger every time? More
Just
intense?
passively, they seem the same to you. To you guys, it's kind of hard to tell because of the enclosure that you're in. But they seem, as far as the proximity to Jolo, seem just as bright as ever.
Do you think that just happens when he gets scared, dear?
I did happen to ask him about it on the watch we shared several nights ago, and he had said that he couldn't control it, that he didn't know what it was coming from or why it was happening, so I'm not sure if he can.
Maybe it's a defense mechanism like a skunk.
I have a feeling it's going to get us into trouble one of these days, but for now, I'm assuming that we can hear his conversation at that table.
Yeah, it's loud enough. I mean, even though you guys may be 2 or 3 tables away, they're not talking quietly. They're all talking
He's not
openly and loud.
He's not one to be subtle anyways, so...
It seems he's already going to get us into trouble with this conversation he started.
Well, I'll let him finish what he has to say. I'm trying to think of how we should approach this best. I don't know who this new fellow is sitting with the half-elves, but he seems like could be someone of importance, so...
He's wearing the same cloak as Dylan. Maybe they're related.
His is gold, which I believe in this kingdom represents a higher rank than his brother, so I believe he introduced himself as a commander anyways. I'm curious to see why he's here, and maybe we can approach him with the news if Jolo finishes his story.
He's very handsome.
Jolo is.
So back to you, Jolo, as you're starting to explain.
So before I do that, in my backstory, I did say that my name was Gerwin Subtlety Pugh. So Subtlety is my middle name.
Well, that hadn't been released. That hasn't been spoken.
Subtlety is my expertise.
By Dylan. Anyway.
I rolled a 20 on subtlety. So anyways, as I recall, I was talking to Commander,
Richard.
And I had just told them of these 2 grave robbers who, if they were only around me, I would have certainly dealt with harshly and severely. And it looked like I was getting a bit of a reaction.
Yeah, so he if you pause, then after mentioning the king that never was, that's when they all seem to get serious, except for Dylan. And he just kind of leans forward. King that never was. Stories about legends about such a name. Been rumored, though I don't know what real weight to put on these rumors, that the late Lord Dormont, centuries late, Dormont was said to be the king that never was, as he claimed to be the rightful king of the Lioness in the early days. What do you... Tell me more.
It's funny you should mention him as being the late king, because I sure hope he's not on time.
Well, I mean,
he has claimed that in a few days' time.
What? How was he claimed? He died 5 years ago on the battlefield, a day and a half from here. How could he claim anything? Did you come across his writings? Did you find a book? What do you mean?
As a matter of fact, I look over to Hildy for help, and I don't think she's helping.
Across the room, and you look, as your gaze passes.
We're watching. We're watching.
You know what? I feel like I've got to pump up this story a little bit. I'm gonna regret this, but I'm gonna use a little bit of thaumaturgy here, cause a little bit of shaking in the earth as I tell us, just to bolster the feelings right now. And I'm gonna say, they may have wakened the dead. Is that bad?
With the rumbling and your words that you're conveying, they all just kind of like for a moment. And, as the trembling passes, woken the dead.
Yeah. So we thought it was kind of bad. We saw the king arise.
The king
who never was.
Oh.
arise in ghostly
In
form.
his tomb.
Exactly.
You're in his tomb.
I was chasing some grave robbers.
see.
As it happens, one of my companions had been blackmailed.
But where did you find this tomb?
Up in the Dormont's.
Okay, so you managed to chase down grave robbers who managed to find...
They accidentally awoke the king. And let us just say,
He's not the king, he never was.
we found the... I looked to Dylan. We found the provisional king.
He just kind of, you see him kind of shrink a little bit. It's just the emotions that are between you guys, and his body language is reminiscent of getting punched in the face shortly thereafter. Just
As someone who's experienced getting punched in the face by some of his companions, now I'm just staring at Nihilus. I'm taking my turns doing eye daggers at all sorts of people. This is my time to get even.
No, if I don't like him talking badly about our friends, I may have to speak up.
Well, with no one else speaking up, I'll just continue. So the king rose from his grave, and he may have been given this tiny idea that he should conquer all the lands and be the king who actually was or will be. Not really good grammar. The king arose in ghostly form and began raising the dead as his army.
careful who you refer to as king. He never was the king.
The king who never was.
That's who you're speaking of.
It's like a nickname. Yes, the king who never was. The
He seems to be
ghostly-
really sensitive about that. Just passively. I mean, it's really obvious that he's getting real tense with the way that you refer to him as the king.
You must, not you must, I would hope that you bear with me. As you saw from the light emission earlier, I am a little off kilter today.
Oh, for Pete's sake!
Commander just gotta pull back.
Hildy stands up and walks over.
He wasn't chasing grave robbers.
No, madam.
We were convinced by a crime lord that we would be killed if we didn't fetch him something from the tomb of the king that never was. His blood. Imagine trying to find the blood of somebody that died hundreds of years ago. Well, we had to do that. And he was with us. He wasn't chasing anyone. And our friends aren't grave robbers. They just took things that were no longer needed. And yes, the king that never was woke up. And yes, he started raising an army of undead. And yes, he said he's going to kill everyone in Warwick and Lionsgate. But, we probably have a little time because he's still assembling his army. And
There
our
was a
friend,
lot of information to unpack.
I believe our friends went to Warwick to summon help.
Okay, let's get past the whole tomb and robbing and blood and focus on undead army. Okay, this I grasp, because I'm a commander with infantry in York. Dylan, are you paying attention?
He doesn't believe us. He hates his brother, and he talks bad about him all the time, and that's why he's looking with those little eyebrows squinting down.
All right. Please, enough. I just want to focus on this army.
Oh, they're dead.
Now have you approached the table?
Yes, I walked over to the table. I'm standing there talking.
Obviously, you're not subtly speaking to him.
No.
His middle name. No.
But the only people that are in here, aside from the people at this table, of course, are the two of you and Rollo, Marion, and just a couple of farmers that have come in during, after the light and just during the exchange. And you hear some gasps around the room. Commander Pritchard stands up.
Oh, you're very tall.
He is. He's a tall, well-built, strong, strapping, middle-aged man from his 50s. And all his hair.
You're a very handsome man, Commander.
And he looks basically still a little bit up at Hildy, who's extraordinarily tall herself. I want to believe you, but I...
Oh, good. I never lie.
But I don't... I would really like to hear from the Atlantean. I have just only because, not to impugn your reputation or your credibility, madam, know the Atlanteans a little bit better than I do Twelfth a Day. They're very mysterious people, and I just don't understand you as well.
Would you like me to speak slower?
No. I understand every word you're saying. I just want to focus in on the important parts. The Atlantean friend, would you mind joining us?
Oh, Nihilus.
Nihilus' his name. Nihilus. Our Commander Pritchard, would you please join us?
Yeah, I'll come. If there's an extra seat, I'll sit down next to the
These are big
fellows.
Yeah, there's a couple few extra seats around. He sits back down with you.
I'll sit down next to Jolo.
I don't think there's a seat next to Gil.
There is.
I just checked.
There is.
She made sure there was one. And as everybody kind of settles into their seat, Commander Pritchard with his eyes on Nihilus, I just want to know from you, is everything that... I'm sorry, may I have your name, please?
Hildegard.
Hildegard says true.
I like him.
I would have personally tried to preface it a little better myself, but she does speak the truth, unfortunately.
He seems to give you a lot of deference, a lot of respect, as an Atlantean. He leans back in his chair. Rolthian, check this out for us, please. I will do so. And immediately Rolthian gets up, and you see him head out the door, and as the door is swinging open, even before it shuts, he turns into this giant eagle and jets off into the sky. Jacletta looks over to, just kind of looking at all of you, and then to the commander. What shall we do next, Commander? We'll wait for his return and make sure that what they're saying, get confirmation. And if indeed the undead army is approaching, then we'll have to decide what we're going to do about it. In any case, what I would like you to do is go out to the village. You know these people very well. And while Arolthian is gone, if you would just please give me a head count of the able-bodied folk, men and women, and those that are not, including children, that we may have to be concerned about evacuating. I know that we have a very, very well-fortified Temple of Suna here, as you might expect, but it is the only building made of stone, and the only one that we might be able to barricade if it comes to that. So if you would see what you can reconnoiter about what our capabilities might be in this village, I think it would be helpful in the event that we have to handle this in a more direct military fashion. And you see, he's gone from this amicable, relaxed, conversational man to a soldier who's on the brink of just starting to command those around him and issue orders. And as he finishes with Jacletta and she heads out, he tells Rollo, no one's to leave. And anyone that comes in must not leave as well. I don't want to start a panic. And
Commander,
yes,
if I may, would it not be prudent to send word to Yorwick and have, I assume you have men at your disposal there, should we not bring them here? Sounds as if you're preparing to face this army of undead with simple villagers here in Remy itself. That surely you're not suggesting that, are you?
I don't know what I have to suggest, but I'm not going to send word to Yorwick until I have verified that what you say is true and it's a danger to us. We may find that their danger is somewhere else. That if there is a horde of undead, an army, as you say, maybe they're going around Remy. Maybe they're going in a different direction. Maybe this Lord Dormont that is leading them. In fact, the spirit of him may have changed his mind. I don't know. I just need to get facts. Once I have facts, then I can make informed decisions. Until then, it would not be prudent of me to send word to Yorwick of some undead invasion that I cannot verify.
Oh, I like the way they take charge, Jello. Can you do that?
Yes,
That would be nice.
Well, now I don't know what to do. The same transformation overcomes Jolo, and he becomes a man of all seriousness. Muscles bulging, of course, as usual, but even bulging more. Looking more like Dylan than even Dylan himself. As he readies himself, he steels himself.
Now, is Jolo now capable of casting illusions?
Internally.
Okay, all right. All right, I'm just making sure this is all clear.
Like a perception on what I was thinking a couple episodes ago, but that's fine.
That's awesome. Just never insight yourself.
Yeah. Or just roll really poorly, and then it's reality. So Joe is pumped up. He's ready. He's eager to help.
And you note that Dylan has also gone through a very similar transition, although he hasn't spoken out.
Yeah.
He's looking very soldierly at this point. He's no longer just cringing from the things that you're saying, as he is sitting straight and straight back and stiff back as he can, next to the commander, almost as if he's preparing to take, imminently take some orders, some direction.
And I seize upon this moment to build some brotherly love, and I say, wow, maybe you'll get some stance of your own from some battle, but don't worry, hide behind me if you get scared.
That his posture doesn't change, and you give him credit for that in your mind, but just internally, you can see the flames just rising, behind his eyeballs, and it can just cause for some concern that if you were ever left alone with him,
There's a vein in his forehead that's about to burst.
Yeah, I'm getting even a little bit, but I don't want to get to actually have a heart attack. I feel like that'd be a little overdoing it. But I can have my fun.
Like I said, it will probably take a royalty in a couple hours to fly there and back. It's not like going through the forest. He'll fly over, he flies very quickly. And he can see a very, very good distance into, forward distance. And so he should have at least some information within the next couple of hours, and then we'll be in a better position to make some decisions.
I do feel the need to warn you, Commander.
Yes.
He's not very brave. When Jolo was possessed, him and the girl, they ran away.
No, I didn't run away.
No, not you. When you were possessed,
Got it.
the Eagle Man and the girl over there at the bar, they ran away. They got scared.
He just kind of, he looks at you, listening to what you say.
I don't lie, Commander.
You don't see a lot of, he seems very dubious about what you're saying.
You could ask the Atlantean, since you don't believe the things I say.
Well, he didn't say he didn't believe you, but he looked.
I could see it in his eyes.
It's obvious, but that is not something that I can pursue at this moment, as we have greater issues at hand. I'm going to go back to the cottage that I own here in the village and take inventory of what I have in terms of at my disposal, in terms of what weapons I brought, any thing that might potentially turn the tide if it comes to that. So please, no one leave the tavern.
I have a sword if you need to borrow it.
I have my own, thank you though, but I appreciate that. Is she wearing it, like openly? It's a short sword, right?
Short sword.
Okay, he kind of eyeballs, well, as he stands up, kind of eyeballs and just, nods. He's very polite, just...
It's like, yeah, old lady.
You can't see, he doesn't have a weapon on him at all that you can see. And, just wearing nice tailored clothing, but, he's obviously not here expecting to have to defend himself. And he slowly rises from the table. Dylan, will you come with me then? But yes, of course, absolutely. And the two of them get up and begin to head toward the door. Dylan just kind of turns his head before, as he passes you, Jolo, and he just gives you this look and mouthing the words.
Now I'm getting nervous, so I call out to the commander. Dylan and I will do whatever we can to keep you and your men in this town safe. Remember our last name. When it comes to fighting, Dylan and myself, pew pew. It's our last name.
Good to know that I can count on you. And as a priest of Suna, I would expect no less. And as a privy of the Temple Knights, I would expect, well, I would be certain of no less from Dylan himself. And he proceeds to continue to walk out, nodding both to Hildy and Nihilus on his departure.
Oh, Nihilus, he was very handsome.
So you have a couple hours to burn. He has asked that nobody leave the tavern, but this is, what do you guys want to do? There's only a couple of, there's like a farmer and a tradesman, Rollo and Marion that are in the tavern at this point. 2 of you, 3 of you. What do you guys want to do?
Well, of course, we don't want to hold people against their will, but at the same time, we have a sacred duty. So, can I perhaps inspire those in the tavern, not my friends, not my followers, but the others who are lingering around, and get them psyched up for what we are about to do, this greatness?
How are you going to do that?
By a thrilling and inspirational speech.
Okay, all right. Well, let's hear it.
Oh, I couldn't just roll for it?
You could, but I mean, there has to be some.
What would the fun be in that?
No, you can do both.
Ladies, gentlemen.
Yes, okay.
I think that covers most of you.
Two ladies.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No,
Ladies and...
there's Hildy and Marion.
Marion.
Those are the only female.
We're the ladies.
Yeah.
What about the demure woman who's been serving us?
He just said Anne Marion.
Oh, okay. I'm not very good with names. I forget them often, but remember that she's demure. Ladies,
Apparently, you forget your own.
I have so many of them. How do we keep track?
As an aside, but anyway.
Just as an aside, I've got another name coming up. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, many of you know me.
Are you
I'm sure
standing,
all of you.
by the way? You standing?
Well, I don't want to get out of frame, but yeah.
No, but when you're telling, when you're doing this inspiration.
Jolo
speech.
standing.
Do you think Jolo is going to stand? He's going to be on the table. He's gotta
Okay, all right. Even better. So
He has to
stands up
look
on the
down
table.
upon his flock, telling you, you know what? This calls for a little thaumaturgy, a little razzmatazz.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have my booming voice. I already used.
As Joe gets up on the table, Nihilus is going to walk upstairs.
Hildy heads upstairs. We're done.
You know what? I want to check this table. Is it solid? Is it good?
Yes,
When I'm
very
sitting up?
solid, well built.
Oh, much like Jolo. Okay. I forgot where I'm going with this. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have dark times ahead. But we have scouted, and we understand the evil that is coming upon us. I ask that you stand with us, and that you prepare yourself, you steel yourselves, so that you can stand against this evil and protect your homes, your families, and your friends.
What a performance.
That wasn't so bad. Too bad I missed it.
I think he said roll a performance with.
No, that's all he said.
I'm pretty sure with advantage.
That was all he said. Not bad.
I get to add to that, so that's a 12 plus 3. That's 15.
Yeah, 15. Okay.
Yeah. Even I'm inspired.
So the 4 people that are in the room, Marion, Rollo, and the farmer and the tradesman, who are now sitting over at the bar, even before you started, so they're all together. All of them rapt attention as you commence your speech, and as you come to this rousing conclusion, you hear, here, yes, and Rollo even, very good, sir. And even Marion, who has been demure, but also less than, clearly not excited about being near or around you because of previous situations. We might have some respect in her eyes as she just kind of looks at you from under her eyelashes. You seem to have inspired them.
Point of order. She has some respect. If you read with the word some, it means the same thing. She has respect, but it sounds better. Can we retcon that? She's got respect?
If you like.
Okay.
We'll leave it up to her and I to determine
Wait,
what level of
what?
respect that is on the chart.
Okay, she has a lot of respect for me. Got it.
So yes, since you replaced them all.
In her defense, it's probably more respect than Nihilus has.
Aw.
That's because you missed the rousing speech. I'll give you another version later. Don't worry about it.
So is anything happening during this 2-hour period or so?
A couple hours.
Right. So what was that?
So Nihilus would have gone up to his room when Chobo started to get up on the table, and he had every intention of giving Nimalea the boots that he brought out of the tomb, since hers got all jacked up, but considering she's already headed off to Yorwick, he'll try them on, see if they fit, and he'll take a look at the sword that he pulled out as well. This is probably the first time he's really paid attention, and just give it sort of a long, very pensive, kind of several times over, just to see the quality, and if he can maybe feel it in his hand, see if it's something he might even bother using. It's probably bigger than he would like, but
Nihilus has like shack-sized feet.
Well, the boots, although they look small as you put them on, they size themselves to your feet. And you immediately realize as you form a connection in your mind that urges you to basically attune to them. So clearly there is some magical property that they have. The sword itself, it looks like a masterwork sword, longsword, but it doesn't have that same draw. So it may or may not be magical, as far as you know, but if you do want to attune to the boots, it'll take you, what is it, an hour or a short rest to...
it's an hour, I think, yeah. So yeah, I mean, if we're just sitting in here waiting and we can't leave, there was probably some things in town he'd want to do, but he'd respect whatever the commander said, and just stay up in his room. He'll attune, I guess, mechanically to the boots, and he will he'll pull out that odd geode-looking stone from his pouch again, and just kind of lay back in bed and stare at it for a while, and just kind of think of all that's happened over the last several days and how they got into this mess, and try to come up with some kind of plan of how they might get out of it. But he'll stay up there most of the time in contemplation.
Okay. So the boots, as you attune to them, you become aware that they are boots of the Winterland. And so that gives you some resistance against cold, and also allows you to travel within very, very cold climates without being affected by the weather. And some other details that you can look up on that.
Cool.
And as you're kind of you're laying in the bed, looking at your geode, and you feel yourself kind of drifting off a little bit. You're not sure if it's just part of this almost dream state that you're drifting off into, or real. But you suddenly hear this. You're not sure where it's coming from, but it's in the room.
It's not Jolo. I'm just gonna let you know.
Does it sound
Get out of
like...
you for that, I bet.
Is it something in my head or something that I'm hearing?
It's like you're almost drifting off as you're just holding this strange geode that you've been carrying around, and it immediately brings you back to wakefulness and awareness, and you're not sure, if it was something it was kind of part of your dream state almost, as you were just about to nod off, or if it was something real. And as you sit there quietly listening, you don't hear it again.
I mean, I'll look around the room, see if there's anything in here.
Passively, it's not a big room. Passively, you don't see anything. I mean, maybe under your bed, cat or dog, who knows?
Never
Or
heard
like
of
a zombie or an undead scat or something.
Who knows? Do you look under the bed?
Okay. I mean, Would he have reason to, I guess?
Well, I mean, I'm just asking. You mentioned the bed.
Yeah, sure, I'll look under the bed.
As it's just kind of got a dust ruffle, and as you just kind of lean over and slowly bend down and pulling up the dust ruffle off to see, and then quickly looking under. Dust. A little bit of dust, but it's empty. You don't see anything.
Maybe that's the sound dust bunnies make.
He's gonna have to roll for initiative. It's the best.
Yeah, well, he'll recall several weeks prior to the last time he had a strange sensation with that stone and just kind of shake it off, I guess.
Yeah, and it's up to you whether or not you want to relate it to that, because it may or may not have anything to do with it. So right now it's just it was a little bit startling, in that moment. So take that as Nihilus would. Anything else?
Yes. Oh, would you like to go first? Or?
Hildy's taking a nap.
Okay.
You're not having any. You're good. You're feeling calm and relaxed and although you haven't been up very long, it's been a very exciting morning, and nothing strange is happening.
I'm a little upset that Jolo tried to throw our buddies under the bus.
That you may be stewing on, yes, of course.
But I think it best to sleep on it.
In fairness, they did rob the graves, and I was following them, and I did not rob the graves.
Over the course of time, I'll get back to you in just a second, but over that course of time that you're in there, there's more people coming in. And Jolo, you being down in the common
Now
room,
I'm stuck.
there's another 3 or 4 or 5 people coming in that are, immediately being advised as to current situation. And of course, told that, Rolo's seems to be very well respected. He's a big guy with a deep voice that they seem to respect. When he tells them that they can't leave, even though some of them kind of complain a little bit that they got to go do this or that or the other thing and get back. But once they hear the story about what's going on, from the involvement of Commander Pritchard and this Atlantean and today that's upstairs, and then you're standing there.
Rousing speech.
It's like the Hotel California.
You don't have to stay during that entire period. I'm just saying that's what's happening in that time.
So
I want on the record that Jolo had indeed said that he was following those others.
I was following.
Actually, he said he was pursuing grave robber.
No, the last thing he said was following, so I just want him to remember who was following who.
Well, I was following my followers.
I think Nihilus is like yelling through the floorboards.
Okay, we're going to talk about 360 management reviews later on in our Matrix meeting. But moving past the managerial issues, I'm going to just quickly speak to Rolo. So I'm going to be right back. Just continue to man the door in the excellent way that you are currently doing. And as we had established before, last name Pugh, first name Gerwin or Jolo, whatever, and middle name Subtlety. And I act subtly, I fight subtly, and I think subtly. And you probably remember the last thing that.
Are you trying to persuade me?
He is.
I'm thinking subtly. This is like previously on Legends on Paper.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so Nim left with a note not addressed to me. She was my.
Well, you don't know anything about that.
Well, I know she left.
Yes, you know she left.
And I know they found out somehow, so I'm using like deductive reasoning.
That's reasonable.
But it didn't come directly to me. That's kind of odd. We used to be close, right?
Yes,
I mean, we were like this. And then there was another person who was my actual current BFF. That meant something. And he said absolutely nothing. That's weird. Can I go up to their rooms?
Yeah.
And I feel like I should knock beforehand in case there's anyone in there, like they put someone else in those rooms, and just do a little searching around, see if they left anything for me, any kind of message, any kind of...
Yeah, sure.
No. Yeah, let's do that. And I'll start my current BFFs.
Okay, so you know where the rooms were, so there's no trouble. Did you want to go to the room that Styx was in, or?
Yes, Styx, my current BFF, but I'm going to knock first.
Okay. When you get there, you knock on the door. No answer.
Okay. I know I'm going to regret this. There could be something underneath the bed, but I'm gonna slowly open the door.
It's unlocked.
Can I see? Is it dark? Is it?
No, I mean, it's just the window's there, the curtains are drawn open. The room looks as if it's not been used at all. The bed doesn't look slept in.
Never slept.
And the curtains are open. The windows, they can be kind of slanted open a little bit to let some air in, and it's a little bit chilly as you walk in. The hearth is not lit.
Was it ever? Is there anything like burn documents in the hearth?
You can check that. Passively as you walk up to it, you don't see anything like that, but you can do a investigation.
Wow, I'm on fire today. I mean, not literally. 19, 16 plus 3.
That's pretty good. You don't. It looks like it hasn't been used at all in the last 24 hours. So it's obviously cleaned up, by the staff. And unless they came in here and cleaned this room before you got up there, it probably hadn't been used.
I was born in the late winter. I'm used to the cold. I don't know if my grave-robbing compatriots are as sturdy as I am.
Well, you wouldn't be surprised that the hearth would not be used, because of course, that it is cold in the evenings in your room or anywhere. There's a roaring fire downstairs in the common room. So for it not to have been used during the night is very surprising, as if nobody stayed in this room.
And the bed looks made up already?
It looks like it has not been slept in.
Is there anything underneath the bed? I am brave. I'm not even afraid. I'm just going to look directly under there, like a fierce warrior. Because I've had my transformation, like Commander Pritchard.
Right. It says Pritchard, not Pritchard.
Pritchard.
Yeah, just
I like it when Jolo thinks it's Pritchard.
Like Captain of the Interpose or something.
There you go. All right, so as you kind of kneel down, and this one has a dust ruffle as well, and begin to raise it up to look underneath. Roll for initiative. No, just kidding. Nothing.
That's my idea.
Empty.
A good idea.
It's empty?
Yeah.
No dust?
A little bit of dust, but outside of that, you don't see anything left behind.
Okay.
And nothing's, ready to jump out.
You should definitely spend twice as much time in this room.
That's kind of creepy. I'm just going to check the closet, and I'm going to move on if I don't see anything in it. Is there
There's a chest.
Chest, yeah.
And the chest is actually open.
Okay.
And when you walk over, you see there's a few folded blankets inside, heavier blankets. But there's enough room to put other stuff in there if you chose to do so, or whoever was staying here. Do you want to investigate and go through it?
Yeah, just click. And I want to check for false bottoms, because I'm not falling for that again.
Okay.
It could be a mimic.
Oh, I just flip my hands. It's going to be bad, isn't it?
Right?
New name, Joe the Handless. Go ahead and roll an
Call
investigation.
myself fingers.
On the chest.
Investigation. Ooh,
Nice.
It's even better. 19 plus 3, 22.
Okay.
He's on fire with the rolls
I
tonight.
really am.
Good.
I've been using it. I've been holding them all up till now.
I'm going to touch that die and ruin it.
So you find 4 folded blankets inside, and underneath them, the bottom is solid, but it's just completely clean. And you recall, based on that roll, I'll let you recall that when you first entered your room for the first time in this inn, tavern, whatever, that was the position the chest was in. So as if to show whoever's coming into the room that this is what's in the chest. And so it looks like, with that great roll, it looks like the room is exactly as it would be when a new person comes to reside in it.
So the only thing I can think of is that there must be even more evil afoot. There must be some secret evil who kidnapped my friend and tore him away from me. But I will reserve final judgment, until I just check Nimalea's room as well. Starting with the fireplace.
So you go to the door, you don't knock this time, you just go right in?
No, I'm knocking.
Okay.
I know your mind works.
No, you don't. You wish you did.
Should I go like this? Are you decent?
There's no answer from this door, except that when you do knock, it kind of creaks open a little bit. It hasn't been fully closed.
Okay. Wait a minute. I just realized something. Is there a keyhole?
Yeah, of course. You received a key to your room so you can lock it.
Okay, I'm gonna look around, see if there are any old women around. Is there anyone around me, behind me,
No,
sneak
this,
up on
you're in the hallway. There's nobody else.
Okay, so no one's going to accuse me of anything nefarious if I look through the keyhole and I see.
Now you've already knocked, and it's moved a little bit, so you can't retcon back before you.
No, I know that.
Okay, so now it's kind of at a weird angle. So you could probably just as easily look.
That'd probably make more sense then. How about that? Yeah.
The door's halfway open and he's going to look through the keyhole.
Well, that might
you
look
put that
odd. It probably look more nefarious.
I'm trying to like mess with the people behind the door. They won't know what to think.
Passively, as you look by, you look through the crack. It's only about that wide. The room is dark. You can immediately smell the. It's cold, but a little bit warmer than Stick's room was. You can smell the evidence of the hearth has been used recently, but it's too dark to see a lot of detail without opening it because obviously here the curtains must be closed.
Let's say hypothetically I'm a light cleric.
Okay.
Could I touch the side of the door and then I'll just burst out in light and then I'll be able to see everything?
You mean like you did downstairs, or are you casting a light spell?
Casting a light spell.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, if you want to touch the inside of the door and illuminate.
Let there be light.
Okay. Yeah, it illuminates the room. And what you see is a room very much like the one you were just in. And this one, the curtains are closed. You can see that the chest is closed and the bed is in disarray, as if it's been slept in.
Or if there was a struggle.
A snuggle struggle?
No.
Oh.
Like
okay.
just somebody killed him in her sleep.
It'd probably be blood, right? Do I see blood?
Not if they strangled
is the
her.
whole room covered in blood? Passively.
Passively, no. Passively, you don't see any blood. But again, you just illuminated this place, and so you looking at the floor, looking at the bed, you don't see
So Watson's not helping me at all.
blood.
Clearly, as a genius, Jolo is looking at the chest, and that's a clear. I mean, the fireplace is different, but the chest is really different. Can I stand behind the chest and open the lid?
Yeah, if you move it forward, because it's against the wall.
This is a mimic.
If you want to pull it forward,
Yes, a little bit.
so this is a big chest, about a good couple feet wide and easily a foot and a half deep. It's made of heavy wood, but you could.
We talked about Jolo's muscles before, and they're getting bigger now.
But even Jolo is probably strong enough to move this chest. It's not. Yeah. So,
Hey.
so you want to pull it out? Is what you want to do?
Just slightly. I don't want to stand in front of it as I open it and then have a bunch of arrows going to my face.
Gotcha.
Or
Okay.
scorpions,
Yeah. So you pull it out about a foot and then
bees.
stand behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, and pull up the lid.
Yes. So it's opening away from me.
Okay, so it pulls up easily with the kind of a creaking noise, and you're holding the lid in your hand.
Okay.
It's not off the hinges. It's just
Yeah.
Just
so now
hold
I can walk around while it's open.
and that's when the arrows come. No. No.
Jolo is such a coward.
And inside you see a couple of blankets that it look like they've been. There may be more blankets underneath, but you see two blankets that look like they've been just shoved back in there.
I shake them
The
out.
only reason you really realize that they're two different blankets is they're two different colors.
I shake the blanket. Does anything fall out?
Okay, you shake the blanket. Roll a perception.
Scorpions. Wow, did you see that?
Natural 20.
Wow. So what you do see, other than scorpions,
I'm like the laundry god over here.
Each one of his dice, it's went like 15, 16, 18, 19, natural 20.
so it's like,
22!
it's like this professional, as if you worked in the
On the wrist, baby.
the hotel industry or something for a long time. You see these wisps of orange hair that kind of float.
I know someone who has orange hair. It's all coming together now.
It's just they're not like clumps. They're just like individual strands of long red hair.
I'm going to regret this because it's going to be dissected in many different ways. But can I pick out a couple of the hairs and take
You're
them?
so pretty.
They're on the ground. You can pick them up.
Okay.
You so professionally flip them out of there.
You saving them for a voodoo doll, or?
Thaumaturgy is something that I've been making use of so far. Not that kind of thaumaturgy, but I believe Toll the Dead is thaumatological.
Right after you do that, you roll perception. Well, you roll perception, and then you just Just as you flip the towel, you hear a noise from the doorway. As you see the few flicks of hair hit the floor, you hear like the scuff of a shoe at the doorway behind you.
Like,
Why are you looking at me? It's behind you.
some guy is like walking and he just scuffs his shoe. And
You want to look?
I think it'd be weird not to look.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll take a look. Maybe that can be like, hello, my name is Jolo.
So as you turn,
Do you know how to spell overthink?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, let me look it up first, though.
as you turn, you see a heavy-set, middle-aged woman in commoner clothing, and she's wearing an apron, and she's standing in the doorway with her arms crossed. Are you replacing me?
I'll let you say roll initiative.
Well, that depends. Are you a great warrior who's going to defend the town from a great evil?
No, I just see the way you handle those linens, and I'm here to clean the room.
No, I don't think I could. I've actually spoken to Rolo, and he's spoken very highly.
But this is your room. What are you doing in here?
Allow me to explain myself. I see how this
She
could
starts to back into the hallway.
Wait for me? I'm not trustworthy?
Lane, quickly, I'm going to call for Rolo.
I start smiling. I'm actually a friend of Rolo. Two of my close friends stayed in this room, this one and the one presumably next door.
Yeah.
And they left
Yeah.
under mysterious circumstances.
No, it didn't look
Last
mysterious
night.
to me.
Did you see them leave?
I did.
Did they look okay? Were they injured? Were they being pressured by a third party?
Oh, the redhead one looked angry.
Yeah, that's usually what she looks like.
Yeah. The other one had his hood up. I'm pretty sure it was a man. He was kind of short,
Did he have a bit of a foul stench?
a little.
Yeah,
I didn't come that
sounds like
close
him
to
as
them.
well.
But the elf, beautiful woman, but she looked very angry.
Did they leave a message for me? My name is Jolo, by the way. I am the waiter brother of a provisional knight who is off with Commander Pritchard.
Yeah. Alright, so, no, I don't know about any message. I have to talk to Rolo about that, but why are you in the room?
I want to know if they had left anything for me. I was very
Why did they
sad.
leave it in their room? Well, this is the lady's room. The redhead, why would she leave something here in the room for you? It sounds very suspicious.
They left suspiciously, and that is why.
More persuasion.
Persuasion. Here comes the one. Here comes the one. I can feel it. Oh, something. 10 plus 15.
Okay.
It's like a rousing speech.
So you're looking for your friend then?
For both of my friends, one closer friend, you could almost say best friend forever, and the other one had potential, but unfortunately
I
didn't.
don't care. I just, I saw them leave before dawn. I was just arriving before Rolo did to prepare for, what I do here. But yeah, they left before dawn. So if they didn't tell you, I don't know what to tell you about that. Maybe it's just, was it like a three-way thing? Maybe he took her as a lover and then spurned you. And
It was a one-way thing. My platonic love spreading. I wasn't born yet, but
I just need to clean the room. So
I'm gonna make you an offer. How about this? I don't know if you saw
can't
anything else. I'm gonna act in goodwill, as you know. I'm a priest of Suna.
are you?
As a matter of
I
fact,
didn't know that. You're just so dirty. I wouldn't expect you to be.
I'm a man of the people, and I've been dealing with some very dirty
Well, why
people.
even? It looks like you've been rolling around in something. Maybe we could have your clothes cleaned a bit.
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to
sisters.
provide
I'll have them come up and help you.
Oh, you know what? They did a terrible job last time.
Oh no, they're
Yeah.
great. Brennan,
One of my friends had egg on his face by the end of it.
Oh,
It
God.
was very embarrassing. I will offer. I don't know. I will offer, and I will give it to you either way, and it'll be on your conscience. But if you know anything,
Yeah.
please tell me. And in return for generosity, and I believe you. If you say you haven't seen anything, I will show you the technique that I learned from great Eastern mystics of flipping and opening blankets. I believe you saw part of that just a few moments ago.
Yeah, it was impressive. But I think my method is seems like it does the trick as well, but, I guess, but I don't have anything else. I can make something up, if you like. But, no, I just saw them leave, and I told you everything already. So I don't know why you're trying to convince me to tell you something else, but it seems very...
I'm just very concerned. I'm a man of the people, but
Okay.
thank you for you've been very helpful, and I guess I will head back out of the room and check back on Ronan.
Okay, alright, so, yeah. Alright, so you're leaving now, so I can take care of the room? Or
Yes,
do you
I
need some
think
more
so.
time? I'll go to another one.
I was wondering one thing. If I could just ask you one question.
Alright.
I did notice that there was a fire lit in this room, and not one in the room that my friend stayed.
I haven't been to the other room,
Oh, you haven't?
no. But, yeah, so that's not unusual. That's normally people get cold, they like fires and such, you know.
Okay, I'm just going to assume, I don't know if I have to roll for this, that she does not have a sister. So at this point, I've completely lost interest. And I'm just going to head down and just take a quick look around, see how many people are there, and see if Rolo is looking a little tired.
Yeah, so he's just kind of looking at you suspiciously as she passes you kind of
Okay, no sister, got it. Yeah.
as wide as she can into the... Did you ask her?
No,
Or you're just trying to insight that?
I'm just trying to see, does she look like the type of person who would have a sister?
What does that look like?
That's like 17 minutes of our lives we'll never get back.
You know what? I wanted to check more stuff. I'm trying to be considerate to the viewers here.
Okay. Well, we're about to go to break.
Thank God.
On a cliffhanger!
As you do find your way down to the back down to the common room, there's a few more people in there. There's about 10 locals plus Rolo and Marion. Commander Pritchard has returned along with Dylan. Dylan, he kind of passes you on the way upstairs as you come down. Make a deck save.
Here comes the one. What's it? 9 plus 0. 9 plus 0 is 9, right?
Okay. So your mind is on other things because you
Sister?
kind of would have expected this as he walks by and up the stairs and kind of brushes harshly against you, attempting to trip you as you go down the stairway.
My dear brother?
What
did I do to him?
You did not make your deck save, and you go tumbling down the stairs, taking
15.
2 points of bludgeoning damage as you find yourself at the bottom of the stairs, and everybody looking at you. Dylan just continuing to go up the stairs, but Commander Pritchard standing there over you, a few feet away, in this glistening white armor. It's plate mail, but it's this white. And he's got his white cloak with the gold fringe. He's got a helmet that's on the table next to him. You can see he's got a dagger and a long, broad sword. And he's just fully decked out as if for battle. And he just looks down at you. Oh, quite an entrance. And that's where we'll take our break. All right, so welcome back, everyone, as we return to this session with Jello just taking the tumble down the stairs, courtesy of his brother, Dylan. Quite maliciously tripped him on the way up as Jello was coming down. Took a little bit of damage, not a big deal, a couple points, as he rights himself, landing just a few feet from Commander Pritchard, who is dressed in full armor, white and blazoned, with the red rampaging lion of lioness and the long white cloak with the gold fringe, the long broadsword at his waist, a dagger, and who knows what else he might have up his metal sleeves. A little bit surprised and amused at Jolo's entrance. The tavern itself, there are about a dozen people now, and just as Jolo sits up, the doors bang open, and there's a rush of cold wind as a large eagle comes flying through, transforming immediately into a Rolthian as it lands, him standing on his feet, and he rushes forward toward Commander Pritchard, getting his attention immediately, turning around, looking at his friend, the druid, and Rolthian, saying, in quite a dour tone, everything they said is true. The undead rising from their graves on the Dormont's. There's a specter of some sort that might be Lord Dormont's spirit, and a flaming steed that hovers above them, currently moving north. But they seem to be zigzagging across the ancient battlefield. There are dozens and dozens of undead that are following them at a slow, awkward pace. Don't think I've ever seen one out in the daylight. But it's quite overcast over the Dormont's right now. It looks like a storm is coming. It should be here by this evening, for that matter, if anyone were to care. But we may have maybe 4 or 5 days before they arrive, if they're building a substantial force. We can raise that many. I'll have to keep a watch on it. But what's important is that the tale is true. Commander Pritchard turns back to Jolo, who's still on the floor, reaches down his gauntleted hand to help bring you to your feet.
Thank you, good sir. As it happens, I've been training my brother. I'd like to make sure that he's safe during this campaign, and I taught him a couple tricks, and perhaps I taught him a little too well. Hence the fall down the stairs.
Yes, sorry to see that there, old boy. It looks like you're well enough. Are you injured?
Oh, I fought through much more than this.
I see.
For instance, when I took down that troll, we probably don't have time to talk about it. But, yes.
We will at some other time, I assure you. I would like to hear more about it, and your other travels as well. Plus more about whatever it was that occurred.
Oh, the two sisters, yeah.
No, they brought the specter from its grave, from its tomb to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into that later. Right now we have the pressing issue of how we're going to deal with these undead creatures. At this point, if you want, Nihilus and Hildy, you would both realize that it's been a couple hours, maybe a little longer. If you want to join downstairs, or if you have other things that you want to do.
Sounds like a plan.
I'm sure we heard the loud clatter of someone falling down the stairs.
Yeah, you would have, no doubt. It might have startled you a little bit.
Maybe I was sledding down the stairs on my shield, in Home Alone or something?
No, that's not what happened.
Yeah, your shield went one way, you went the other, you just tumbled. It was a 9. Sorry. Could have been worse though, so...
It was a mighty 9, not a weak 9.
No, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So Hildy and Nihilus appear at the top of the stairway, and you see the people gathered there. Jacletta is just now coming in through the door, and you see everyone that was there before, except for Dylan, whom you didn't see. You didn't pass in the upper chambers before you came down. Commander Pritchard his eyes, rise to the two of you at the top of the stairway. We went in for the day. It seems that the stories are true. And
You mean like we told you?
Yes, madam, like you told me, precisely.
Not good to doubt people.
Well, no, but it's good to verify. Trust but verify is my motto. And we'll have to do some planning.
You look very handsome in your armor.
Thank you. I've heard that before, as a matter of fact. But coming from you, it's just quite impressive, as you seem to... You've probably seen quite a few. But anyway, I'm getting on track. Thank you. He seems a bit awkward. He seems... With Nihilus, he seems more respectful. With you, you actually passively get the impression that he's a little nervous.
You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is.
I know what it is. But
It's her rampaging beauty.
It's you get like someone who's fairly beautiful, and then you stick him near a very beautiful person who looks ugly. Well, as the charisma guy in this tavern, you stick the commander next to me.
Marion's all right.
What's that?
Marion's all right. She's pretty.
You do
Look, he's demure. I'm charismatic.
but you do understand that charisma has absolutely nothing to do with your looks.
That's not quite how I would describe him.
If you look up the definition of the word, it kind of fits.
Anyway, didn't mean to interrupt.
Carry on, sir.
Yes. If you all will join me at the table, we will make plans for how we're going to deal with this scourge that's approaching. And he goes back to the same table that he was earlier, with Chicletta and Erolthian joining him. Dylan still hasn't come back down. What are you guys doing?
Wander over to the table where he's sitting.
Okay. All right. So as you all gather around, Rolo rushes over with drinks for all of you, and himself. The dozen or so town people that are in the tavern kind of crowd around, curious. Commander Pritchard doesn't seem to be bothered by it, but he does make one comment before he starts talking with the rest of you at the table. If you don't mind, again, we'll keep everyone in the tavern that enters for at least a little bit longer. I don't want any rumors or any panic in the streets of our village. So if all of you will just pay attention, we'll have a plan, and you'll be able to communicate that to the rest of the citizenry. First, Chicletta, what have you found out? What is our position here currently in the village? Chicletta has a paper that she has, is more like a torn piece of parchment. And you see a bunch of small, tiny little scribblings all over it. And they're not all just in nice, neat lines. They're just like in jumbled areas here and there, but it seems to all make sense to her. And she goes over the numbers of able-bodied folk that she believes might be able to help defend the village if it comes to that, and the people that need to be evacuated because they're old or unable or too young that they want to evacuate. The Commander Pritchard takes that all in and turns to Erolthian and asks him, what do you recommend, my old friend? As you've seen the numbers rising, and you could probably guesstimate as to what we should expect in the next few days if they're coming with a sizable contingent. I would expect 300 or 400 of them in the next 4 or 5 days. If they wait that long. If they waited longer, it could grow by another 25 or 30 per day. I don't know what their intention is, but when they do arrive, they'll arrive with enough to overtake this village very quickly if we're not prepared. I need to go to the Enclave and warn them. I'm not certain that all of these undead will be heading in this direction. Some, it seems, to be clustering over toward the north a little bit. And I don't know if it's a staging area or what their intent is, but it certainly might indicate a pattern of movement toward the mountains if they intend to invade the Enclave as well. So I will be warning the druids, and perhaps they can lend some help before they arrive. Sounds like, I would hate not to have you here, but I understand your first duty. May sooner go with you and keep you safe. And Orothian stands, and unless you guys interject with him in any way, he begins to head out the door.
I'll just make sure to catch his eye and just give him sort of a deep, respectful nod.
And as he gets up, he nods to the commander, of course, who apparently they're friends. Jacletta, he puts his hand on her shoulder, and you see him squeeze tight. And then to Hildy and Nihilus, both, a measured nod as he turns and walks out.
And as he gives Jolo a hug, Jolo will give him a half nod.
There's a lot that goes on inside Jolo's head that doesn't really happen, but, there's another story there.
So much.
Yeah, we're going to publish the Book of Jolo at the end of this. It's going to be great.
And there'll be a lot of people that buy it because they just want to know what happens inside that head of yours.
Make your pre-orders now.
There you go. You can see that Commander Pritchard is very, very concerned. I mean, it's obvious. The look on his face is dour. About that time, there's a noise at the top of the stairs, and you see clunking down the stairway Dylan in his bright silver armor with the silver fringed white cloak of the Provisional Knights. And he comes down steadily and joins the table, sitting right next to Commander Pritchard, seat that was saved for him. How can I help? I'm quite capable, Commander. I'd be happy to lead the defense if you like. My boy, you're Provi. You know that you're not allowed to lead troops until you pass the testing. Until you're a full knight with Golden Cloak. Until then, I think it'd probably be appropriate to partner you with your brother. The two of you, under... Should I call you Jolo? I'm still confused about the whole thing. Jolo, Gerwin, what would you like to be called?
You can call me Jolo. That is my official working name.
Gotcha.
As long as we have this dialogue.
Yes.
I would like to ask you this. As you know, I'm not a knight. I make no claim to be a knight. I'm a cleric.
Please. Yes.
Could we use this attack as my brother's test?
No, sadly no. There's a very specific format and mechanism for the testing that I won't go into, as it's proprietary to the Temple Knights. But in any case, that's not important. What's important right now is that the two of you should probably be able to work together quite well, I would imagine, considering that you know each other better than anyone else, siblings, and imagine that you would be able to, almost like two pair of hands working together toward one common objective. The perfect storm of
brains and brawn, exactly.
Compatibility, yes. A priest and a provisional knight. So, Jacletta has outlined what our capabilities are here to defend. Jacletta, I'd like you, as the ranger and that I've known for very, very long, you know these forests, byways, highways, and pathways, roadways is better than anyone. I would like you to lead the folk who are evacuating the village toward safe haven, away from any path that the undead might take, even if they overtake us and continue on to York. I will be sending someone from the village to warn York and hopefully get defenses here, and some reserves or backup, or maybe some of my infantry troops that are readied, the cavalry, whatever they have available that they can send on a moment's notice to help bolster our defenses, and hopefully they arrive in time to give us the help that we need. Until then, he looks at Hildy and looks over at Jolo and Nihilus. Each one of you will command a company of 100 commoners.
Oh, Commander, we might have a slight problem.
Yes, what might that be?
Since the breaking and the issues that it caused,
Oh, yes, breaking.
my people have sworn an oath that we will not lead others.
Well,
It went horribly wrong. Could you appoint me as an advisor to work with someone you trust?
I could. I tell you what, you will be an advisor to Rolo. Rolo was at one time, before he retired, quite a decorated soldier. You can see Rolo nearby, just kind of looking very proud and quite pleased that the commander might mention that. Nodding. Acquiescence. He'll lead 100 with your advising him. I imagine that you might have quite a lot that you could bring to that help with the defenses. We'll have to build trenches, we'll have to produce pitch to fill those trenches with, and we'll also have to hopefully build some barricades within the time that we have before the undead make their way to our village. I will stay here, and we will make the tavern the headquarters, and the Temple of Suna in the center of our city will be barricaded, and will be our triage station for any injured. I know that there are a couple of low-level priests there that can handle some healing, so at least we'll have some backup in case. Well, I'm sure there'll be injuries, sadly. With the three of you, each commanding 100 citizens, training them, in my direction, of course, and that will be a great help to you as well, Jolo, having your brother there who does have some experience in combat tactics, at least training-wise, if not in the real world yet. This will certainly do it, I imagine.
Well, if there's any skill that he has, similar to what we witnessed in the stairwell, I'm sure we will have no problem defeating the undead.
Dylan is pretty much almost apoplectic, but it's all on the inside. I mean, you know him well enough that he's just steaming inside, cannot believe that he's being put in a place of subservience to you, technically. That's kind of like Hildy. He's gonna be there more in an advisory capacity than in a leadership role.
So we have it established, the whole subtlety thing with Jolo. Because Jolo can tell these things with his passive perception. So he's going to try to calm the waters.
Okay, you're actually using the spell? Not the calming emotions or whatever?
No, I actually don't have that. But maybe I can do persuasion. Persuasion.
Okay, so how are you going to persuade your brother?
And I turned to him. I know as brothers we have sometimes fought, and there's been a bit of jealousy and a bit of ill will just because of lack of skill and such. But let me tell you, I will not hold any of this against you. We will work as one.
His eyes just kind of glazed, and he looks at the commander. Precious, you sure we can't make an exception? I mean, I've studied this. Combat tactics. I've studied all the ancient battles. I know how to lead men. And you know the rules. You'll advise your brother. He will lead the company, and you will defend him as you should.
Commander,
No more will be said about it.
Please don't worry about my brother. I will take good care of him.
No more will be said about it. So, any questions for the commander at this point before I go over some mechanics?
Not involving Dylan, though, right?
Nope. Niles? No? Okay.
No, I mean, no, I guess not.
So basically, each one of you are going to be commanding a company of 100 citizen soldiers. Some of them have a little bit of experience, some of them don't. Some of them are just farmers and traders. Some of them have some soldiering experience. Some may have some adventuring experience, and they all kind of balance out within the group of 100. So your stats as a member of that company are kind of going to be absorbed in. So if for instance your company takes damage, then the company as a whole takes damage, not you individually. Not unless you disengage from the company, you separate yourself from the company. At that point, then you might be targeted individually. But as long as you are part of the company, then you can use things like you can attempt to inspire them on your turn. You can move. You can take a reaction if it's warranted, like if you dug a trench and then you filled that trench with pitch. As a reaction, as long as you're adjacent to that trench, your company can light it on fire. And any enemy, any company or enemy unit that moves through it will, of course, receive damage. If it's a pit that doesn't have pitch in it, then it's still an obstacle, and it's considered difficult terrain to move through. The same with a barrier. If you build a barrier and you put it in a specific place, and an enemy unit tries to move through it, then it stops them, and they have to actually destroy it or move around it if they can to get through it. And of course, that barrier will have hit points and an AC attached to it. So,
I don't think that you've mentioned how inspiration works if we want to inspire.
yes, so the way that inspiration will work is basically if you want to use your action, you can use your action individually each turn to either inspire your company, or you can use a area of effects spell as the spell normally works, as long as it's 30 feet or the area effect is 30 feet or wider, on an enemy token, an enemy group. Or you can use a individual attack or spell or whatever against an individual, not on a unit. So you couldn't cast like Firebolt against an enemy unit that has 100, undead in it, because that would have no real effect. But if you wanted to fire it at, say, the Flaming Horse, or if it was within range, or the Spirit of Lord Dormont, you could do that. You could, cast an individual spell or a range attack on an individual like you would normally. So either individual, AoE, or you can inspire your company.
Which does what?
Yeah, so inspiring the company will basically, and then you also move, which is 2 hexes, unless you get the combat benefit that allows you to move further. We'll get into that in just a second. So,
I think Inspire gives them advantage
yes, gives them advantage. Let me find the details
on
here real quick.
attack. Attack or save.
Yeah, so just have it right here. Do you have it right there?
I don't see
Yeah,
that.
it says you can attempt to inspire the company by making a component check that's determined by the DM. Success grants the company advantage on their next attack or save.
Right. Yep, here it is.
No,
So yes, it
Josh must be looking at the old one.
provides them with advantage for the next turn, or the next attack or save, as he just said. So it doesn't be necessarily in the next turn. But it lasts only one turn, or up to one turn. So if you're attacked, let me make sure the duration is correct. Yeah, each round. Okay. So that will put you in a position whether or not you want to make a AoE attack, an individual attack, or inspire your unit to greater ability to attack or save.
2 quick questions.
Yes.
One, is it move or act, or can we move and act?
Yes, you can move and act. So you can move
Okay.
assuming you just have regular movement, then you can move
and
your
act.
up to 2 hexes, and then whatever action that you want to take. And the action that you taking individually, leading your company, is inspiring AoE.
Okay.
But the company itself, you can command them to make an attack.
Second question, is advantage an action, or is advantage a roll to attempt to inspire?
No, you use your...
And they're inspired. We don't have to try
It's an
to
action,
inspire
an
and fail.
individual action. It's an individual action that you take, but it doesn't affect the action that your company takes. So your company can still attack, but you can either inspire them or attack with an AoE or attack
Right.
individually.
I get that, but what I'm saying is, do we automatically inspire, or do we attempt to inspire?
I believe perform one personal
I
action.
think we have to roll.
Yes, you have to make a charisma check against a DC. So yes,
Got
you
it.
have to roll. And that charisma check will be determined by me, but it's based on a number of factors. Number one, if you made like a successful attack previously, that might make it easier to inspire them.
Okay.
If they took a lot of damage, that may make it more difficult. If you're down to 50% of your health, the unit itself, that might make it more difficult. If you do something courageous or whatever, then that might make it more easy. So, there's a lot of things that might affect that.
Okay, cool.
Basically, it starts with a base 10 and then goes up and down based on that. Now, during the next 5 days, each day, you can do one of the following. You can build a barrier. You can opt to do some defensive training, which will add +1 to your company's AC. You can do offensive training, which will add +1 to either a melee weapon attack, or you can apply it to a ranged weapon attack, but they have to get the range training to take advantage of that. And that's another thing. If you get the other thing you can do on one of those 5 days is get range training. And you can stack that. You can stack everything other than combat maneuvers. Combat maneuvers will double your movement of your company if you take that on one day. But the combat maneuvers will not only give you the ability to double your movement, but it'll also give you the ability to do 2 different formations. Either a shield wall, which adds +2 to your AC as an action, or what's called a maniple, which gives +2 to your hit and damage if you use that formation. And that's part of the... Does that apply while the formation? It consumes your using a formation consumes your movement, so you should be aware of that. Or you can dig a trench, or you can produce some pitch. And then the last thing that you can do, and you can only do it once, is fortitude training, which will double the health of your company. So all of that are the things that you can do. You can basically choose 5 of those, because those are the 5 things that you'll be able to bolster your company with before you have to deal with the undead. Now, Commander Pritchard tells you that there are 3 roads leading into the village, and they all converge in the center, Lasuna. Now, he feels like each one of you need to basically defend a road. He says that the undead, and Jacletta bolsters this argument because she's had a little bit of experience with undead, that they'll most likely travel on the roads into the village. Number one, because he doubts that they expect any resistance. Number two, they can move a lot faster on the roads. And number three, he thinks that if whatever the specter or spirit is, probably seems dubious that it's actually Lord Dormont. That even if it is, he probably didn't have that much of an imagination when it comes to combat tactics. And so each one of you he will assign to one of the roads. For Nihilus, he'll put on the bridge that leads into the city on the northwest side of the village. Jolo will protect the bridge over the river that enters through the southwest side of the village, and then Rolo and Hildy will protect the land entry from the east. And so it's possible that some of those, that they may try and, walk through the fields, but he feels pretty confident that that they're gonna, at least in the beginning, come down the roads. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up a map, which will show you position, and you can tell me what you want to do in terms of the 5 different things that you can choose to either create defenses or bolster your company, and we'll go from there.
I'm excited. This is super cool.
It's gonna be cool.
Army,
Because you haven't seen me.
D&D Army combat.
Okay.
Ooh, 30.
I just want it stated for the record that Hildy has the tougher goal, so when I succeed,
I did a tougher goal.
you just have to defend a bridge. I've got the whole world.
I've got to defend not only the bridge against the hordes,
The bridge.
brother right there.
Oh, alright, there's that. But mostly just the bridge.
So we're using Roll20 with a map that is courtesy of Josh. Granted, it's a long time ago, not realizing what he was creating exactly.
So I would have made the northwest corner way more defensible.
So thank you very much for creating that map in whatever, was it Alchemy or Dungeon Alchemy or something?
You know what though? One thing I didn't tell you when I made the map, there's a building right next to where Nihilus' token is that has a whole bunch of grenades and like battering rams and siege engines in there.
Yeah, unfortunately that's like 20,000 years later. All right.
Molotov cocktails.
So, because I'm the only one controlling the units, you guys will have to tell me where you want to move. This is kind of where you are now, but you can be wherever you want when we start. So that's not a problem. And then once it gets into an initiative situation, which by the way, when you roll initiative for your company, you're going to add your initiative modifier.
Gotcha.
So if you have a modifier, then you'll add that. Because as the leader of the company, they get the benefit of some of the things that you can provide. So, alrighty. And the only thing that you do, you may, even though you don't deal with direct combat damage to your individual, if your unit was attacked by an AoE spell, then you would be individually affected and still have to make a savings throw. And that, like, if the whole thing got hit by a fireball,
Right.
as an example, if that were to happen, then you would have to make the save and you'd be, affected by the same damage that the rest of the unit was.
Got it.
Okay. So, alright, so we'll start. We have, if you want barriers, we have the barrier, which I will create on the map for us here real quick. And we have trenches, and we have the pitch. And the pitch can be located right next to, right, if you do dig a trench and want to put pitch in it, then we'll just put those on top of each other. But that will require two of your phase.
If we hold the line at the water, at the side of the water, that's considered success, right?
What's is considered a success is if you survive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. These things, they I would imagine they're pretty hungry.
the rule of combat. If you live through it,
But we had some soup. We could have just shared that.
I think they prefer flesh. Human.
They're gluten
Wasn't
free.
there like
They're celiac.
kind of beast? Yeah, I didn't have the beverage by the way, because I didn't know if it was beer or.
It was
meat.
more meat.
Oh, that doesn't have.
Meat is made from honey.
Yeah. Okay, I did have that. Then.
Okay.
Well, for Constitution.
They were hives or something. I mean, is there a backstory that I missed? I gotta revisit that. So,
There's subtext.
I got it. More of that subtlety. So does anybody want to build any one of the defensive structures?
I do, actually. So I have a question.
Yes.
That building that Hildy's lovely face is sitting on top of, what is that building?
Okay. That building right there is basically a trade guild, and so inside of it there are, and it's not stone, but inside of it there are a number of tradecraft vendors and so forth.
Okay, I'm going to build a hex-wide trench on the one just to the east of it. Yep.
Right here.
Yep.
Okay.
And that trench will have pitch in it.
Okay, that'll use 2 of your options. I'll put it on top.
That's fine.
Okay, so anybody else want to build a trench, pitch, or barrier?
I do.
Okay, which one?
Well, I have a quick. Okay, so first of all, I'll build a barrier on the west side, the interior side of the bridge.
Over here?
The inside. No, the other side of the bridge, next to me, like on the inside of the town.
Okay, got it. So we'll put that right
So they
here.
can't get. Yeah, I mean, essentially spanning across the bridge.
Yeah, the hexes are weirdly
Perpendicular.
lined up, but they would have to go through that hex
Okay.
where it is. Just that's where it is.
Can I, instead of filling a trench with pitch, can I cover the bridge with pitch?
You could. If you
Okay,
want to use
I wanna do that.
Yeah, if you want to use a unit for that.
Yep.
All right. Get my map all goofed up here.
I'm just conferring with Dylan at the moment. I think we've got a plan.
All right. So, it's weird that I can't copy that for some reason. I'll get another one on the board in a second. Okay, so you're gonna put pitch on the bridge, and you're gonna put the barrier right on the other side of the bridge, where on the inside. Got it.
Structures.
I'm going to actually do the same. I think that I didn't overhear what's that?
Sorry, there was one more structure. I want to build a large sign and have painted with big red letters, free food on the southwest bridge, and point that direction.
I'm going to tell you what I told those twins earlier. We're all in this together, so you better make the best of it.
I'll just, it's strategy.
So that's 3 turns that you've used up so far.
All right. Well,
If it's a viable defense option, then I'll take it.
All right. So we got the pitch on the bridge. We got your barrier right on the other side, on the east side of the bridge interior. We got Hildy with her pitch in the trench that she built. We got a barrier that Jolo built
Well, let's also put the pitch on the bridge.
on the bridge. Okay. All right.
Is this a wooden bridge by any chance?
No, there's stone.
There's stone? Yeah, okay.
New one. This is a small little village. Dude.
They're non-flammable metal.
Okay. All right. So each of you used 2 defensive structures. So then you can decide with your last 3 options if you want to go with defensive training, offensive training, range training.
Can I do one more?
Another.
Can I do one more defensive? Sorry to interrupt. Can I do a trench on the other side of the bridge?
Okay. Oops. Okay. All right. So it's the hexes aren't lined up, but I will consider that butted up against the beginning of the bridge there.
And the barrier on the inside is butted up against the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Cool.
In both cases, so they can't get around it. And if I can see how to turn this, there we go.
Okay, so I have a barrier and I have a pitch. Is that correct?
Yep. So you have barrier and pitch. Maybe I can put this in such a way that oh, good. I can just stick it there. All right.
Perfect.
Good. Good.
Look at that death trap.
Okay. So anybody else with these defensive measures? So during this time, as you guys are thinking about how you want to, with what you have left, bolster your company. At a moment when, after you guys have left the tavern and you've collected Jacletta and Captain Pritchard or Commander Pritchard have helped you to put together the companies. Jacletta is then gathering people that are not capable of fighting and preparing them basically supplies and creating a pretty much a caravan of refugees that will leave the village in the next couple of days. She seems pretty disappointed that she's not going to be involved in the fight. And of course, multiple messengers, in case one runs afoul, have been sent to Yorwick. But well, you're a couple days from Yorwick, and the commander seems rather uncertain that troops will arrive before the undead will. He feels confident that they'll send troops right away, but not so confident that they'll get here before the undead arrive. Jolo and Dylan, in a moment that they have together, Dylan just grabs Jolo by the front of his robes and brings him in real close. Do everything I tell you to do. You understand? I don't care if you're in charge. You do the way I tell you, so we both survive. I'll protect you. I know what I'm doing. I've been trained. I've studied. I've been doing combat training for years now. I was almost the second in my class. So, listen to me. He just pushes you away.
It's not too late for me just to get a couple extra words in, is it? Of course not. I'm gonna look at him.
Oh, look, here comes the horde.
Straight into the eyes. And I say, your energy, your spirit, your eagerness for battle inspires me. And I know that together we will be able to keep this town safe and destroy the angry horde.
Seems confused.
And I just walk away. Yeah.
Watches you walk away. You just see him kind of nodding. Yeah, okay. Definitely taking him off guard there with that unexpected polite response. And it didn't lead to violence. It probably did when you were younger.
I've been nothing but civil this whole time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Even a couple days ago when he first found you.
I can just imagine he's replaying that whole incident on the stairwell now, saying, "What have I done?"
Maybe.
Is there a sanitarium nearby in case he cracks somewhere?
There is the temple.
Okay.
The Temple of Suna. So, Hildy, what 3 additional benefits would you like to...
Hildy is going to, number 1, do fortitude training.
Okay, it's going to double your
the
health.
hit points.
Okay. Brings it to 1,000 health. All right.
Number 2, she is going to do defensive training and add +1 to their AC.
Okay. So I'll bring it up to 11. You have their stats, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, I'll bring your AC up to 11.
And number 3, she is going to do range training.
Okay. Got it. So they'll be able to cast use their crossbows and bows and short and long and just whatever mix of ranged weapons that they have.
I think with that long road in front of us, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, so they'll have +2 on that. And it's to hit. Alright, so Jolo. What 3 are you going to choose?
I think I'm actually going to do the same thing, if I heard him correctly. Defensive training, range training, and fortitude training.
Okay.
Those are the same, correct?
Yeah. That's going to increase your health pool up to 1,000 as well. Got a hardy folk here.
The ranged weapon attack is +2 to hit, yeah.
Correct. And you also AC 11.
Yes.
Oh, get note of that. All right.
This would be D20.
I think you can take 20 or you can roll your D4.
10 times?
20 would be the average. you roll a d4 and then you just multiply it times 10.
Okay.
Right. Okay, and Nihilus. You have 2.
2. Yeah, so fortitude training puts me at 1,000 health, and range training gives me the +2 to hit.
Okay.
You did say this is
And the
like a
way-
well-fed village, so they've all got extra hit points.
Yeah, it makes
The
sense.
way I'm reading the barrier, if I'm behind it, we get +2 AC.
That's right.
Yep.
As long as you're, and it's kind of like, the way I have it sitting, it's kind of spanning 2 hexes. So as long as your token abuts either of those hexes, you get the AC
Okay.
bonus. And of course, that
That's
goes away if they
cool.
destroy it.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, over the next 5 days, as you're training your company, you're getting to know the people, Jacletta leaves reluctantly with a caravan of villagers to safety, to somewhere that is unknown, as Commander wants to keep that secret in case they were overrun and the undead had a way of knowing where they were going, or extracting that information. So, is there anything that any of you want to do in this 5-day period, as you're getting some reports in every day as to where the commander has sent out people. He no longer has Erothian to fly over and see what's going on from the air. And so he's got 20 or 30 scouts out all the time, night and day. Some of them never return. And he replenishes with what he has. And he does so almost without... You can see that there's a pain behind his eyes as he does so, but you can also see the stoicism of an experienced soldier that's doing what needs to be done. And he's got 30 or 40 scouts out there coming in 2 or 3 times a day, or as often as they can, depending on the distance that they're going, with when they have information to let him know the position of Lord Dormont and his undead. And it gets down to that 5th day, the night, the end of the 5th day in the night, as the weather has started to come in, almost provocatively, with the sighting of the undead at the fringes in the forests of the village, knowing that they'll be attacking that night. In this 5-day period, do you guys want to do anything?
Well, I assume I can heal the stairwell damage.
Yeah. Yeah, you got 5 nights.
Is
You
there-
just
Is there any pattern in terms of where people are dying the most in terms of the scouts, or is it?
It's unknown, because their instruction is to go out and locate the position of the undead, wherever they find them, and then return with that information. And so Commander Pritchard's got this map that is, that's basically like this, but from a much broader view. This huge map that's spread out over 3 or 4 tables have been shoved together. The whole tavern is now a very impressive headquarters. He doesn't have any other soldiers. The only one is Dylan, who's with Jolo.
And Rollo. And Rollo.
And Rollo, who's retired, but I mean active duty. And Rollo is with Hildy, and they're, they're dealing with their own training. But it's pretty impressive. And some of the regular townsfolk that may or may not have military experience are really stepping up to carry the messages and get the information out and make sure all the units, all 3 of you, have the information that you need. And it turns out exactly as he anticipated. It looks like the undead are grouping in the road leading into the city. And it's very difficult to be sure what's happening with the Flaming Steed, as well as Lord Dormont himself, the spirit, as they call it, the specter, as they call it, as it seems to kind of like flit about. It's not, attached to one specific unit, but flit about, and it calls out in a great deep voice in an ancient language that you would probably have an idea now, because the writing that you had to decipher in the tomb is the ancient Lyonesian vocalized, and they all understand it. apparently, because they're moving in accordance with his commands. Any interactions, anything prior to the night that the undead arrive?
Maybe just a quick prayer to Suna would probably be within character.
Hexes are 30 feet, yes?
They're technically 50 feet, but for all intents and purposes, you can move 2 hexes.
I'm looking more for range.
Oh, for range? Yeah, so the hexes are 50 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, so the only wishy-washy thing is there for the movement itself, because we want to maintain that hex, movement. So yeah, 50 feet per hex. Knights, yes.
We're going to, those of us on the east road, are going to hold an action, because as near as I can tell, the very end of the map is 300 feet, which would be in our range.
Okay.
So we're going to hold an action, and as soon as they start coming down that road, we're going to start peppering them.
Okay. If you have range beyond that,
Well, 320, so
okay. So you'll have a little extra.
a little bit.
Yeah. And maybe an extra turn, depending on how fast they're moving. Okay. All right. And where do you want to position your unit, Hildy?
Since the hex is technically 50 feet and the pitch is technically in the trench,
Right.
we want to be between the building and the trench.
Okay, so we'll put you right here. And so you're not really, the whole unit as a unit, you're not really
Right.
big cover because you're not all in the building.
Understood.
Okay. Okay. But you do have that impressive barrier. And Nihilus, do you want to move anywhere, or you are technically behind the
no.
barrier?
Yeah, we'll make sure that his company is stationed well enough as they can be behind the barrier, and he'll be right behind them, able to issue orders.
Okay. So remember, you're all attached to your unit right now. If you do detach from it, then you can do different things and move as an individual, but you'll also leave your company leaderless. And for all intents and purposes, even if Hildy leaves and Rory is there or whatever, it's,
I understand.
Okay. And Jolo, are you happy where you are?
I'm one behind the barrier, I assume.
Yes, you're butted up against the barrier.
So, like my compatriot Hildy, I'd like to hold an action of arrows, point of arrows.
Okay. You all have range, right? And health. And then Jolo and Hildy have the additional defensive bonus.
Yes.
Change it there if you want.
I'll fix it here.
No? Alright.
Sure. I'll do it. Well, I can't do it in 2 places. That'd be wrong.
You can. You can do whatever you want. This is America.
Is it?
Actually, plethwy.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. So, okay, so any other actions prior to the night of the living dead approaching?
I think Nihilus would kind of go off to himself and just sit in quiet contemplation, thinking about everything again, like he did before. But this is all just kind of a very surreal time for him. He never thought he'd be in a place like this. And he would just, say a prayer to not Suna.
Yeah,
Ethan's.
I like that.
Say a prayer to Neve, say a prayer to Pontus, and just kind of wonder how the heck he ended up in this situation with these strangers in this strange land.
Hildy will also, yay, Neve.
What? Not Suna? We talked about this.
I've never seen Suna do anything for me.
I'm gonna have to cancel out his thing and say, yay, Suna! Abbreviated prayer, but I'm gonna make it work.
Okay.
And Dylan's been oddly quiet and docile, although giving you some very reasonable advice the whole time, just kind of almost in a monotone, as he's still a little bit weirded out by the way that you're interacting with him at this point. and the decisions that you're making, and perhaps some of the recommendations that he's making, you're taking, and some of the other ones you're giving him reasons why you want to do something different. But ultimately, he seems to have shifted into this position where he accepts you as the leader because he was commanded to, and is deferring to what it is, rather than being argumentative or fighting with you about everything, just deferring to the decisions that you make. And so it's interesting, the new wartime relationship that you guys have. And it doesn't feel very brotherly, but in a way it feels more brotherly than it has in a lot of years.
This is wartime Jolo. It's all serious.
Hildy will also seek out Jolo the night before and say,
No.
You might die. If you need to lose your virginity, I'm willing to help you out with that, Jolo.
I know I said it's all business, but I'm not taking any payments or anything. This is not going to happen. I have to confer with my associates and my men.
You and your men? That will be, well...
I think if he's a true priest of Soon, I think he's a eunuch, right?
I don't think I read that. Maybe I skipped that day. That was like at the end. That I took a sick day.
It's in the bylaws.
she'll then seek out Dylan and
When you say it's in the bylaws, I thought law and I said bye. It's done.
If you need to lose your virginity, Dylan, I'm willing to help you out with that.
A bit taken aback. As much as an honor as I would certainly...
Do a defensive maneuver.
Dylan disengages and runs away.
He joins the horde.
No opportunity attack.
alright. This is gonna be fun. You guys ready?
I'm ready. Let's
gonna
go
be
for
cool.
it.
So as the evening approaches, everyone ready, knowing that the undead is in the forest around them, collecting, preparing to come down the roads that you're surveying. Seeing flashes of this blue spectral figure in the distance, moving from one place to the other, followed by the flaming steed. At a great distance, not close enough certainly to interact with or attack, but moving at the outskirts and disappearing and then reappearing in different places. You can hear the echo of its voice calling down to its undead troops as they're massing against you. The clouds have rolled in. You hear thunder in the distance. Rain begins to come down just a bit, and then it gets steadier and steadier until it's raining quite forcefully. And it seems like it's going to be a while. You see the peals of lightning in the distance over the treetops that illuminate the far distance and the movement of shadows further away, but closer than you'd like down the road. And then your ears, even over the rain pattering down on the buildings and the river that you may be guarding, the pathway, the road leading, turning to mud and leading into the town. You can hear this howling, hungry voices in mass, moving slowly in your direction. You can see the shadows beginning to materialize into these massive figures that are lumbering down each roadway in your direction. Just as they get into some of your range, resolving into the horrible creatures that they are, with the flesh pulled away, some of them completely skeletal, some wearing bits of armor, ancient rusted pieces of whatever's left, carrying all manner of different types of weaponry, some with what could be axes or swords, some a portion of some weapon, but it doesn't seem like it even matters whether they have a weapon or not, as they move hungrily and steadily toward you, egged on by Lord Dormont and his fiery mount. we'll pick up next week.
What? That's no.
Damn it.
Dude.
That's where we're picking up.
That's where we'll pick up.
I'm ready.
Thank you all very much. It's been exciting and unusual. A lot of unexpected events. Thanks for
I blame Jolo.
always blame Jolo. And we'll see how our heroes handle this undead invasion.
This is crazy.
Thank you all. Everyone.
You know what it reminded me of when you were talking about the rain coming down was in Lord of the Rings, the Helm's Deep, when they're all standing, waiting silently, and it just starts to rain on them.
That's the situation. That's it. That's the one. You're in it now. You're in it knee deep. Good night, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks, Rabbit.